Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There it is, so you don't miss any of our football content this season. It has been, if I might say, fantastic. Okay, so I want to talk. Packers beat the Rams 24-19. It was pretty interesting because you kind of felt like the Rams, McVay and Stafford, were kind of just keeping them in the game. I do think the Rams, these are the two youngest teams in the NFL. But if you start going up and down and you start looking at numbers, I worry sometimes there is some leakage with the Packers defense, although they are taking it away. And Jordan Love had it wasn't a Will Levis moment because I don't think it was nerves. I think he thought, I don't want a safety here.
He was desperate, yeah.
He was desperate. So it's not, he didn't see that guy. And by the way, that doesn't happen. That kind of play doesn't happen. So take that out. But as I watched that game today, and again, Stafford was 50% on third down. They had a time of possession advantage. They had 370 yards, 236, and they're doing it without Puka, and they're doing it without Cooper Kupp. And I am watching these older guys. And Kirk Cousins old, but he's winning. Aaron's old, and he's not. And I looked at Stafford today, and I'm watching all these guys run around, and Lamar and Brock Purdy and Kyler Murray, and it does limit what the Rams can do. Now, no Cooper Kupp and Puka, but Cooper Kupp now is injured regularly. That's like part of him. And so they need tackles. They need a number one corner. But as I watch that game, I think Green Bay feels like last week in the second half and this week between Reed and Kraft and Jordan Love, they got some really nice offensive pieces. They have some, and not everybody's healthy. But it makes me think about this game today. Would you waste a top draft pick for the Rams to get the quarterback? Or do you just give Stafford one more draft because they have a first, a two-thirds, a fourth, 3 6s? They could get him more weapons. What would you do if you ran the Rams? Would you draft a quarterback? I mean, he's one of the last pocket dudes in this league.
Yeah, to me, he's right at that number, that 36, 37 years old, and he's a weathered individual. Like, he's taken a lot of hits. And, the thing with the Cousins, the pocket, even the Goffs, it doesn't feel like they've taken the punishment, even of Rodgers, because those guys scramble around more and save plays, and that's some of the most legendary plays are outside the pocket, throwing the ball.
Right.
And Stafford feels much closer to Aaron's age than he does Kirk Cousins' age. I would this might just be the year. What they're doing, honestly, even just being competitive these last couple of weeks against the Bears and the Packers was pretty impressive. But there's a 4-point swing, right? If he takes a safety instead of the pick six, that's 24-15 at the end of the game. It's actually not as close as it feels.
Yes.
So it's kind of a freakish play there. I would, again, I don't really love these quarterbacks. So it's like I'm watching Carson Beck. Yeah, I don't really see it. Quinn Ewers, I can't even watch. He's injured. Now, we'll see if he comes back this week against Oklahoma. But that's back-to-back years of being an injured guy, and this is in college. He hasn't been in the SEC that long, and hell, I don't even think he's played an SEC game yet because he got hurt before it even started. So he got hurt in the Big 12.
I don't think Shedeur Sanders in L.A. with McVay, I think they could drive each other crazy. So I'm with you. I
can see McVay kind of liking that, though, because he is – we'll find out over this next 5 weeks about Colorado, but so far you got to tip your hat to Dion. I mean, they beat the crap out of UCF last week as a 14-point underdog. He's looked pretty good. There's no disputing his – no, he's not super tall, but he's 6'2", 6'2 and a half.
Yeah, he's fine.
Big arm, can move. Really pretty accurate. Now, he holds on the ball a little bit long, but, I mean, he's college quarterback.
No, I think Shedeur, like when I watch Carson Beck, he looks thin. I think he reminds me of Arch Manning as a freshman. I'm like, dude, eat. You need 15 pounds of muscle. Arch has put it on. You can see Arch. Yeah. He's thicker. Those Texas quarterbacks, they have weight room competitions. They're all big, thick kids. Carson Beck does not drive the ball. Beck doesn't drive the ball. And they have an average O-line at Georgia this year, and he's limited. He doesn't have Brock Bowers, and you can see it. He doesn't have a safety valve. So I think Shedeur's the greatest talent. Cam Ward's right behind him. He's fascinating. But let's be honest, the Rams, they don't have the draft capital to move up, and teams aren't moving back. You have to have a core. What do you have to give up to move to like the number 1 or 2 pick?
Yeah, I mean, would you entertain, if you were drafting high enough, just trading Stafford? Or just trade him to the Raiders or something, if you had the opportunity to get a young quarterback. I think that's what you'd have to entertain doing. obviously in a perfect world, they would just be fully healthy and roll with Stafford. But we have a couple years now. It's like they had injuries last year. They're adding up again. I mean, it's just
Also, John, he had really ugly moments today. He had a
awful
terrible
pick
pick
again.
last weekend.
Oh,
He had a
terrible.
terrible. You get at least one a weekend. It's funny. We look
But
at
he's
Sam
being,
Darnold.
see, if I was defending him, and I bet if he was sitting here, it's like, I don't have a choice. I can't, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I have to force the issue to give us, a snowball's chance to move the ball down the field. If
Yeah,
I don't let it rip and push, now I think people that are anti-Stafford will say, well, he does that no matter what.
right.
Right. So I think he's kind of in a tough spot. To me, it's more about the age. And I think historically, you go back to Walsh, you go with Belichick's mindset to Brady of when he shorted him. Now it blew up in his face. I think you can't go wrong shorting older, weathered guys that have been hit a lot. And how often, even when he's playing his best at the end of games, he kind of limping off the side of the field. I mean, that's like a go-to move for his career just because of the punishment he's taken.
Yeah. So Jordan Love, and again, I think he's really talented. And again, that pick six, he just didn't want to. If he would have been at the 12-yard line or something, it would just be a mistake. It's the end zone. It's great. It's one of those classic highlights. It's very Favre-like.
I think his brain just turned off. He just kind of.
Yeah. So, but I thought today they didn't ask him to do much. And I thought, and I think this is why Matt LaFleur, 15 to 26, 224 yards. He ran 3 times. I think because of the injury and Willis playing, I thought last week's first half he was overwhelmed. Second half he was better. And I thought in this game, Green Bay came in and felt, listen, we're going to win this game. Yeah. We're just going to slow play it. I'm not worried that he's not off to a great start. Are you at all?
To me, he feels somewhere in the middle of not as terrible as he was when he started last season, but obviously he's not the guy that we saw at the end of the season that got the $170 million contract. He's kind of in no man's land right now. Still can make remarkable plays. That I guess it wasn't a touchdown, but like the 80-yard bomb in the
God.
air is as good as it gets.
Right.
But also when it's in the air, because it's that player, you think, did he just throw a pick into triple coverage? And he can get really loosey-goosey with the ball just kind of flying all over the map. So it's like when I watch him by the end of the year, because he had stacked so many good games, you had a lot of trust in him as a player. And by the time the playoffs came, you're just like, this is one of the best players in the league. When I watch him right now, I don't trust him. Like when he drops back, I think anything could happen. And whether that's obviously he got injured, but remember, even before he got injured in that Eagle game, I don't know if it's rust. I don't know if it's trying to prove the money, because the way he was playing last year, there was a freeness to it, but there's also a control. He wasn't turning the ball over. He puts a lot of balls into harm's way, Colin. That's my thing. But he can make up for it because with that power arm, and obviously they got some pieces. They're a team that if their defense just plays solid, Jacobs was running really well today. Obviously, the wide receivers, Tucker with the sweet long touchdown, they could be a problem, but they need him because the NFC, let's face it, is pretty wide open right now. Like,
Jason McIntyre,
5 teams could probably win it.
We were talking Friday. He goes, I can't believe you took Arizona. And I'm like, they got humiliated. San Francisco Warner may not play. So, my take is who is good?